Dylan, we're starting.
What the fuck, Tom?
This is Tom and Dylan. This is our Mandalorian and Star Wars related predictions for the upcoming shows. Dylan, go ahead and take it away.
Well, Tom, with the ending of Mandalorian Season 2, and we finally get that reveal of you-know-who. Spoilers, by the way, for Season 2 if you haven't seen it yet. But
we'll give you 5 seconds, but spoilers. All right. Luke. Yeah.
We got Luke.
Luke.
With Luke, and spoilers again, but we already gave you the 5 seconds, so you're just doomed now.
Yeah.
Luke takes Grogu with him.
He does.
And most likely we can expect that that's the start or to continue his new Jedi Order.
Potentially.
How do you feel about that? Like, where do you see them going with that? Like, can you see Luke in like a possibly Luke show talking about or going over, maybe his time with Grogu and his other students leading into, but not getting too far into it, but the sequels and Ben Solo?
I don't know if they will do a Luke show, but I mean, I was impressed they even put Luke in the show, so who knows? I definitely don't think that Grogu is going anywhere because those little Grogu dolls are money makers. Yes, exactly. Case in point. Grogu is not going anywhere. I can see maybe little clips of him throughout the season, or maybe we don't even see him until the end of the season. As far as a Luke show, dude, that seems like pretty big budget for a TV show, especially if they're doing de-aging for every episode. That's a lot of, I know Disney has that kind of moolah just laying around, but I don't know, man. I don't know if there's going to be a Luke show. I definitely don't think Grogu's anywhere. But he's definitely not going to be the center of attention for season 3, in my opinion.
Right. Well, think of this idea. I heard somebody say, so when they brought Luke in for this episode, they brought Mark Hamill in, I'm assuming just for the voice, because they had to stand in and they CGI'd his face. So with that sort of de-aging, maybe they don't need to do that again, but they did it for this because it was such a big reveal that in future episodes or future potential debuts of a season, maybe they just get a character, or an actor like Sebastian Stan as a stand-in.
Yeah.
Who does look like him, and you just do minor CGI to his face, and
you
boom,
can
bing,
even do
bang,
it with
done.
makeup, probably.
Yeah.
The only issue though is the voice, because Luke has a super distinct voice.
He does. I think he can work on that voice. Sebastian can, and then maybe where they need the blemishes covered up, they throw in a little bit of Luke, like how Deepfake does.
But yeah, they could potentially do. Yeah,
I think they have the money to do that.
Yeah,
and I honestly like
that.
I really like the idea of a Luke show, in that we'll get to see the starting point of his Jedi Order.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think that people would love it. I just don't know if they would be willing to do all that.
It's a lot, and that you're starting to teeter into the sequels when you're messing with Luke, and a lot of people have their opinions of the sequels, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going to retcon them, and they're not going to decanonize them.
Yeah,
they're there. So
yeah.
I think the best solution to maybe making them better, or if you already like them, to enhance them, make them even better, is give a little backstory on what actually happened to Luke that we didn't see, rather than his ranting on, I was scared of this child. Because the Luke we saw in Mando was not scared of anything. He was calm, cool, collected, smooth like butter.
Here's a theory that just popped in my head.
Okay.
If Luke is potentially a more timid Jedi Master by the time his Jedi Order is around with Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. Perhaps something happened while he was training Grogu that made him already have lower confidence in his abilities for doing this sort of thing. Maybe there's more of a backstory as to why Luke became such a hermit as opposed to just Ben. Maybe this is not his first failure.
Maybe Ben was just a tipping point because it was his blood. I can see that. And I think that's what you could do with a show like that, and that's what you would have to do. Something has to happen on top of Ben Solo for him to be this so high of a Jedi Master, basically Grandmaster, you know, by the time he starts to tip. But something has to happen on top of Ben, you know, turning, where a lot of things have to happen, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Luke's that type of character that's just gonna tip and fall over his nephew.
Yeah, well, and
that's
why so many people had a problem with the sequels, is because of what they made of Luke's character. So they could potentially try to build more of a backstory as to why Luke was why he was. But no, I feel like 99% of people that saw that and were Star Wars fans were like, Luke wouldn't do this, and that's why so many people were upset by it.
Right, and justifiably, because when I first saw the screening of the sequels, my first reactions to all three of them were I was kind of amazed. Like, I think I was visually just blown away because they were visually beautiful. Yeah. I'll give the creators that. They were amazing looking.
Oh yeah, the cinematography was amazing in those movies.
There's some top-notch cinematography for sure. And then as time goes on, especially now, looking back, I'm, you know, kind of pulling back on that and thinking, man, thinking about the story, thinking about the characters, who they were, and their personal stories. And, you know, for example, Finn, he's pointless. He's just an emotional character to further the plot of Rey. Yeah. Who is clearly overpowered. That's just the same. That's an too strong.
Yeah. So anyways, we don't need to dive into that.
But no, sorry.
Everybody has some strong feelings on that whole thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there is maybe a way that they can create more of a backstory, but I mean, that whole thing is so touchy that doing more with Luke, they might not even want to touch that. Like, they gave us this little thing of Luke right now, and he was super badass, and it's what people wanted for a long time. And they might just be like, we're just going to leave it at that. Just end Luke's story on a high note.
Right.
So who knows? But I mean, I don't see any way of Grogu coming back into the story without us seeing Luke again also. So I'm sure he will come into the Mandalorian again at some point with Grogu.
I agree.
You know, his main point for taking Grogu was he is only safe once he knows how to control his powers. That doesn't necessarily mean he needs to become a Jedi. He needs to train him and go through all that stuff. All it means is he's going to show him how to use his powers and be an adult. You know, I'm sure we might see teenage Grogu or something, kind of like teenage Groot. Maybe we might see something like that. But yeah, like he's only alluded to showing him how to use his powers. He hasn't alluded to making him a Jedi or anything like that. So There's a lot of ways that Grogu could come back and not be a Jedi and not be involved in the sequels at all.
Yeah, just basically teach him restraint if he doesn't choose the path of a Jedi. He can just kind of go, I guess, in a way of the gray and be a very strong force wielder with no lightsaber. He's Din's companion. And I'm perfectly fine with that because that's something we really haven't seen is a lot of force wielders without being Jedi or Sith.
Yeah, and
we've seen Maz, but that's just not many.
Yeah, and I think, and I hope, but I think that season 3 of The Mandalorian will be heavily focused on them trying to take back Mandalore.
Mhm.
So I can see potentially in the future Grogu being like a right hand guy to Din Djarin as the ruler of Mandalore, and have
Right.
no association with the sequels or any of the main characters again at all.
Which is fine, and you can
Yeah.
still bring Luke in. I mean, there's no reason why you can't have a Luke R2 Grogu moment
Mm-hmm.
where maybe they eat up or meet up for tacos or something. But really, they can bring them in a moment of we're in dire need of help kind of situation, or something like that. Like they need a
Yeah.
quick rescue or assistance with a mission. And there's no reason why Luke can't show up again. So if we're not getting a Luke show, I still don't believe that's the last we'll see of Luke.
Yeah, I don't think it's the last we'll see of him. I think there's potential for him to be in the Ahsoka show too, honestly. I mean, it would be a really cool scene to see Ahsoka and Luke meet up, and then Ahsoka tell Luke about his father. I mean,
Yes.
that's just a missed opportunity if they don't do that.
Yeah.
That'd be
I feel like,
that'd be
yeah,
very emotional for a lot of fans if they did that.
yeah. Because there's so many moments in Clone Wars and then that moment in Rebels where they fought each other
Mm-hmm.
that you can feel the tension between them, and to not finish off their overall arc between the two characters,
Yeah.
I feel like would be somewhat of a travesty. And
Yeah.
I really don't see Filoni missing that opportunity. I really don't, especially since he's the one writing the show for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I think it'll heavily be Thrawn and Ezra and Sabine,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see them just completely avoiding the fact that Luke is right there
Mm-hmm.
and available, and he's not in hiding. He's out looking. So I don't see why. Maybe the Ahsoka show starts off with where Rebels left off in the epilogue, and she's off to pick up Sabine. So we see a live action quick version of that. She's like, "Hey, let's go." And maybe on the way out to see if they can find Thrawn, maybe she stops and meets up with Luke and be like, "Hey, like I know you've kind of been off and on picking up artifacts, starting your Jedi temple, this, that, the other. Do you have any advice?" "Oh, wait, you're Anakin's son?" "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Luke, and my dad's dead, and well, he was redeemed."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
emotions and
Yeah, if Luke could tell Ahsoka that Anakin was redeemed, that'd be really cool. That'd be a really cool moment.
yeah,
So yeah,
I mean, that's
and
enough for me to be like, okay, like I don't have to see more of Luke in
yeah,
action.
hmm
Like I think paying off the Luke and Anakin, Luke Vader, Ahsoka Anakin, Ahsoka Vader kind of interactions that we've seen so far in animation, seeing something to seal it all up would be nice, to say
yeah.
the least.
But so yeah, so we're gonna have Mandalorian season 3, the Book of
Mhm.
Boba, which is its own series that is gonna be coming out immediately before Mandalorian season 3. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
that it potentially leads into Mandalorian season 3 in some respect. Might
Mhm.
not be directly related, but they might have some tie-ins, I would assume. And then we're gonna have Ahsoka, the Ahsoka's TV series, which will pick up her searching for Thrawn, and potentially Ezra and Sabine will be involved, and maybe even the crew from the Rebels TV show in some respect as well.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I could even see, it kind of seems like they're making Thrawn as like the Thanos character of the Marvel
Right.
universe, and how they're kind of slowly hinting at him. They're having the Republic, the Rangers of the Republic TV show, which is supposed to start in the timeline directly after the Return of the Jedi. So I could potentially see them doing some early hints of Thrawn then as well. If it's going to be focused on the Republic and stuff like that, and it's going to be like, people in X-Wings and whatever, I could see some respect them hinting at Thrawn.
Right.
build the
Yep.
universe up more.
Completely agree. I think we're gonna see a surprising lack of amount of Thrawn. Like that's a prediction right there. I think he'll be as involved in Ahsoka's show as Moff Gideon was in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we'll get a okay amount of him towards the end, building up to him.
Of Ahsoka
But
or just in
Ahsoka,
general? Okay.
like Ahsoka's show specifically, I also don't know if it's going to be a one season and done thing. I mean, I kind of hope not. But if let's say it isn't, and we're going to get multiple seasons, maybe 2 or 3 or something. I think Ahsoka's show is going to be there to introduce Thrawn because of Ezra, but I don't think Ahsoka's show will be the focal point of Thrawn's story that is happening right now. That's a strict prediction, but I have a feeling that they're not just going to overwhelm us with Thrawn.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be bringing in, well, at least Sabine, I think, is a guarantee, and I believe Ezra you can probably chalk up as a guarantee in some form.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, if Ezra's involved early, then that means Thrawn's involved early. You would guess because they left off at the same point together. A lot of time has passed. It's like it's got to be what 10 years since Rebels.
Well, the little ending scene of Rebels.
Well, not the epilogue, but the moment where he took off with the Purgle, the space.
Yeah,
dwells.
that was like a month before Star Wars Episode 4, Battle of Yavin.
Okay, so we're looking at like 6 to 8, roughly, something like that. So I mean, there has been a lot of time.
So the timeline for the Mandalorian is 9 ABY or 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, because it's 5 years and then 4 years, right?
It is 9 after Yavin.
Yeah. So,
but that's still 5 after Endor, I believe, because there's a time jump. There's a little time jump in between 4, 5, and 6.
So it's potentially going to be about 10 years
estimated
after when we would see Ezra.
So there's a lot of time that's passed. I mean, honestly, you could probably do a Thrawn Ezra show. I doubt they will, but you could probably do a Thrawn Ezra show where they basically give us what they've been doing this entire time. I mean, really, have they just been surviving? Where did they fix their ship? Did the Purgle just drop them off and, like a quick dump and be like, all right, I'm out of here?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the only way they could figure out where to go is Thrawn being so smart and ingenuitive, and with his vast knowledge of the unknown regions, figuring out a way to navigate somewhere, and Ezra having to, swallow his pride and Jedi thinking and rebel thinking, like, okay, I got to work with this guy to live, basically. But then again, he took off with the intentions of dying anyways. It felt like, at least.
Yeah. I think that was, we're getting pretty deep into Rebels now, but I think that if Ezra survived that was, I would argue that was basically his Jedi trials right there. Like, I would say he's a Jedi Knight after that.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave Obi-Wan, they made Obi-Wan a Jedi Knight after defeating Darth Maul in Episode 1, and they considered that his Jedi trials. So, I mean, it's kind of subjective as to what you would think it is, but
I mean, who's granting him the Jedi knighthood,
Yeah.
It's really just Luke and Ahsoka out there. Well, maybe at this point, maybe there's a couple more, but there's not very many Jedi out there. So, I mean, he probably calls himself a Jedi even when he's training with Ezra. Or, Kanan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think now, like, he's going to, maybe he finishes his animated story as a Jedi, and through his time with Thrawn, most likely, he's starting to lean middle more and more. Whether that's Thrawn's negative influence or logical, realistic influence. Like, hey, if you don't help me, we're all dead kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
on top of surviving after living when the Purgle drop him off. So I mean, really, we could possibly even see a gray Jedi Ezra.
Yeah.
That's not really floating one way or another as far as Empire and Rebels go, but is like, you know what, I'm going to help the needy. I'm going to help the people that can't help themselves kind of thing, rather than helping myself and my beliefs. And if you get what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
like he's not cultish about his beliefs. He's, I guess, ethical and moral is more of a way to describe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Because I
kind of
mean, really,
seems.
the Sith and the Jedi are cults. They're extremisms on each side.
Yeah, and they're kind of going that way in general with the series, as far as that point in the timeline, where most Force users that are good are more in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka,
I mean, of
Ahsoka's
course,
not a
Luke
Jedi.
is
Luke is heavy, like I'm a Jedi Master now kind of guy, but we all know what happens to him.
right.
We're
But I
gonna
mean,
see what
Luke,
happens
even
with.
Luke is.
I mean, Rey is pretty down the middle. I would argue.
I think she ends up being that way. Yeah.
So Kylo kind of. I mean, when Ben Solo ends up being redeemed, I would say he's kind of going down the middle also. But it kind of seems like that's the theme of this new era of Star Wars is more down the middle Force users.
For sure.
So
Completely agree. But I think with Luke, I wouldn't say he's a fanatic of the Jedi or the Rebellion. Not at least not anymore at this point.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, he didn't turn out to be that way because of what happened to him in the sequels. But I think he starts after Episode 6 and everything kind of dies down with the Empire and more or less all the threats. I think he slowly starts to realize like he even had that line in Last Jedi where he's talking about the entirety of the Jedi Council let this Darth Sidious rise up to power within the whole of the galaxy in politics, and
Mm-hmm.
then turn them up from inside out. And I think he sees that as the cloudedness and the blindness of the Jedi, but the way he sees his own life is it's more keen to what's happening right here and now.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily thinking about the politics of it. I don't think he wants to do things the same way they did it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that plays into why he fails so hard, is because he tries something new but fails. And so it's maybe even a harder impact, rather if he were to do it the same way the Jedi did it, or the exact same way the Jedi did it, or of old, that he'd be like, oh, well, maybe it's just their system. Maybe I'll try something else in round 2. But he tried something else the first time, and it failed hard. Something happened. Not just Ben, but something happened.
Yeah. Well, Luke is very aware of the Jedi being too tied in to politics and how much that influenced them and created them into this war machine that they became, which ultimately was their final defeat in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly why he goes to Octu, or what is the planet that he goes to start his new Jedi temple at? Do they ever even say that?
I don't think they did.
But
I know they in Force Awakens they spoke about Luke, a time ago. I think Han Solo said he took a group of young Jedi trainees off to find the first Jedi temple and start his own, I guess, Jedi order.
Well, either
but I
way,
don't know.
The name of the planet isn't a big deal, but he did it so that it was far away from the Republic or the New Republic, so there was no influence and they could just purely be focused on being Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for them to dive into his backstory more, but I lean more towards him not having a huge role and kind of letting them end things on a high note to redeem themselves.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of Luke. live action in these shows. I think we'll get something in the Rangers when he's potentially helping the rebellion wipe out the rest of the remnants of the Empire.
Yeah, I could actually definitely see that in the new
maybe he's flying with the
Republic Rangers.
Yeah, like maybe he's flying with Rogue Squadron again or something,
Yeah, and
that'd be cool.
that'd be a really easy cameo too, because they wouldn't really need to show his face, but they could have like Luke Hamill's voice, and then have like an X-wing
CGI.
come in, and like they don't need to show him at all. Just have an X-wing come in and save the day, and it's Luke's voice, and then he flies off.
Yeah, it's
and
Red
that's
5,
Luke,
and we know it's Luke.
Yeah, and that's his cameo.
Yeah, I mean, even that would be cool in itself.
Yeah.
But here's the theory that kind of popped in my head when we started this, specifically for Rangers of the Republic. And I know you played this as well, but Battlefront 2 story mode, how it followed Iden Versio and her boy toy that was a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of see something like that. I don't think we're going to see Iden Versio, but I think we can see a story built like that, like maybe like a special forces Death Trooper version of the rebels, or rebel version of the Death Troopers being the Rangers, and then maybe we'll even get trickled in I guess traitorous stormtroopers joining the rebellion.
Yeah, well, in the second to last episode of The Mandalorian, Bill Burr's character talks about Operation Cinder, which is directly from the video game, which was the Empire basically destroying everything and punishing them for letting the Emperor die. So we could potentially see the new Republic's side of view on this thing, where they're like destroying and burning planets up and stuff, and destroying all the resources, and maybe the Republic Rangers trying to stop this somehow. Yeah,
I mean, at first, I didn't catch Operation Cinder. I knew it was from something. It rung a bell. And then I saw a video, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it's from. Battlefront 2. Yeah, so they had those space station lasers shooting down in the mission. You're, like, flying around and trying to blow them up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you think of it, like, from outside looking in, and let's say you're not even a fan and you're seeing that they're coming out with a show called Rangers of the New Republic, do you see it being more action packed with, rebels versus bounty hunters and Imperials, or can you see it being, because I believe Mon Mothma from Rogue One, that actress, she's in the show as a political figure. Could you see it being more political and seeing more of the politics of the New Republic, and maybe even a Leia cameo?
That'd be rough. That'd be a rough cameo.
I mean, if they can get Luke fighting, I mean, it wasn't him fighting, but if they can CGI his face for a few lines, I don't see why they can't maybe have her in the background, or maybe say something here and there, or like a big speech.
I could maybe see her. I could maybe see her as like a hologram.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like some sort of hologram or something, or like hearing her make an announcement, like this is the New Republic sort of thing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, now that I think about it, if it is political at all and more of a drama based, I don't see how they could get around not having her at least have some sort of part. But if it's more action packed and it's like X-wings and flying around and doing stuff like that, then they can probably get away without doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know how it's going to go. I see it as, like, even the title logo looks like it could be more involved in like action and fighting and whatnot.
Yeah, I think I lean towards the action side more, just because we're gonna have the rebels. What's that? The guy from Rogue One. What's his name? I can't think of it right now. His TV show.
Oh, Diego Lugos.
Yeah,
Cassian Andor.
yeah. Cassian Andor is getting a show. It's going to be like a
Mhm.
Star Wars spy show, and I kind of see that being a lot more like dramatic. So they're going to
That's
have,
fair.
and then I assume that the Ahsoka TV show will probably be a little bit more dramatic also because they're going to be playing with a lot of emotions with old characters, I assume. But
Hmm.
yeah, what is your which of the new shows are you looking forward to the most?
Of all of them, or the ones that are
Mandalor
like kind of involved in
yeah, kind of
Mandalorian.
involved. Republic of the, or Ranger of the New Republic, Mandalorian season 3, Boba Fett, Book of Boba, or Ahsoka.
I think if he's only restricted to one show, just theoretically speaking, I think I'm going to go with Ahsoka because more recently I've become a massive fan of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I've been reading his
Hmm.
books and whatnot.
Yeah,
Here in a little bit, I'll be buying or purchasing through Audible his third book in the series. Right after the Alliance is one. I think it's Treasons or something like that. But yeah, I've been loving his books and loving the character and the way his mind works and how strategic he is. And it really reminds me of like an alien version of like Sherlock Holmes, how he dissects everything before it
yeah,
happens. And
yeah,
I don't know, I love that kind of thought process, especially when it's laid out like that. Because we didn't really get to see that in Rebels. We saw him be incredibly smart and you know figure out ways to defeat the rebels. Obviously, spoilers, but he didn't. He
yeah.
messed them up bad, but he didn't win.
I think they kind of nerfed him too from the original character of Thrawn. They kind of nerfed him to be able to be an even uh, on an even playing field with the Rebels characters.
Okay,
So
which is fine. I mean, it it's not this massive cinematic live action movie. He doesn't have to be this what he is in the books, at least from what I can tell from reading it. But I think I'll definitely go with Ahsoka just because I really want to see Thrawn. I want to see who they're going to pick as whether they do like the same thing they did with Luke with like a voice being separate from the person
mhm.
that's being portrayed, or if they're going to go with Lars Mikkelsen, who did the voice in Rebels, who's actually Mads Mikkelsen's brother. Um, I also think Benedict Cumberbatch could be a solid option. And there's somebody else I've seen people talk about, but I can't remember their name. But yeah, I'm interested to see who they portray as that, as well as where they pick up Ahsoka's story. Obviously, it's right after the epilogue of Rebels. That's potentially right after this Mando episode. But
Yeah.
as far as where they pick up, like, are they going to do a lot of flashbacks to show maybe Ezra growing up? Are they even going to have Ezra? Because that could be a season 2 thing, or I don't know.
I'm
I
under
think
the
that's the
I'm under
one
the
with.
impression that Ahsoka will be one one season, kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries. I assume it'll also be a miniseries. I think the main focus with all of this is still going to be creating the character and the story and everything involving the Mandalorian and Din Djarin.
Okay.
I think that is like I think that's going to be like their main focus, and these stories are going to help build it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows if maybe we don't see Thrawn in the sequels at all because Thrawn decided to attack Mandalore, and this is what it's building up to, like Mandalore versus Thrawn or something like that.
That could be interesting.
Yeah,
That could be interesting.
they have a leader
And
now. As long as there's not another Mandalorian civil war, because there have been a lot of Mandalorian civil wars.
I mean, it looks like we're kind of hinted to
Yeah, I
that.
think we probably will. But as long as there isn't.
So with that, going into Mandalorian season 3, I think it's going to be even more heavily Mandalorian, more so than it's been kind of Force and Jedi and midichlorians and all that, which I
Mhm.
loved. But I think we're going to get a return of some of the members of that sister Death Watch group that we ran into season 1, the ones that survived at least, as well as the armor. And I think we could potentially see a clash between Bo-Katan and the Night Owls and the armorer and the members of that group.
Yeah.
With Din pretty much chilling in the middle, being like, over here, I have Bo-Katan, who's a princess of Mandalore. And over here, I have the people who brought me in and raised me, basically, to learn and to follow this set of rules, which was his creed.
Yeah.
And this is the way, and, you know. I think we're going to see a massive clash because we saw Boba and I always forget her name. Sasha Banks' character.
Yeah, Sasha Banks' character.
They even had a little clash, and it took 3 minutes. So, I mean, if you get two fanatic groups, you know, from each side of, you know, the Mandalorian way, I think we can see a mini civil war. I don't think they'll focus on another civil war, but
yeah. And I mean,
I think
if the group that Din Djarin comes from, the Watch, they're like the most fanatical of the Mandalorians. They find out he has the Darksaber. They could be like, "Don't you dare give that to Bo-Katan. She's the reason why Mandalore failed and was destroyed."
right.
So, I mean, there's probably people that are not happy with Bo-Katan.
So, do you think Thrawn will be in Mandalorian season 3?
If anything, not till the end.
Do you think Gideon will escape somehow or be released?
Yeah. He I think he still has more to get done in this series. So, yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of Gideon. I think he escapes somehow. Maybe that's how they bring. Who knows? I think it's going to tie into Mandalore and stuff more.
Okay. What about, let's see here. Are we going to get any other episodes with characters like the Marshal, Timothy Oliphant's character from the first episode? Or are we going to see Mithral or Grief Karga? I mean, we only got them in one episode.
I think, yeah, I can see Grief being.
I mean, I think he's going to be involved. He's a big part of the show. But
yeah, I'm sure he'll have a small part, if anything.
Yeah. What about the Mandalorian character favorite, like fan favorite? I think it's probably the most wanted person ever. Frog Lady.
Yeah, I think she'll be the core of the next season.
I mean, we got to wrap up the story behind the eggs.
How many eggs spawned, you know?
Yeah. Were there any twins?
Are they Force sensitive?
Exactly.
Will it be a Darth Frog Lady? A Darth Frog Lady and Darth Jar Jar Binks team up?
Oh my lord. Mace Windu is Snoke.
It's gonna, yeah, gosh.
One thing real quick before we move on to Book of Boba. Do you think we'll see a live action Jason Solo? Or not Jason Solo, Syndulla?
If they bring the Rebels crew in, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, so Hera knows Ahsoka. They've worked together, obviously, in Rebels.
I totally think they're gonna bring back the whole Rebels crew for the Ahsoka. If they're getting Sabine involved and potentially Ezra, it only makes sense that they bring
2, maybe 3 more characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess 4 if you include Chopper, but he's easy to make.
Yeah.
He's a droid. What about in any of the shows? Do you think we'll see a live action Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order?
I watched the whole cinematic cutscenes of Jedi Fallen Order recently. It's pretty cool. they definitely alluded to more with him at the end and those
Right.
characters. So I feel like they'll bring him in somehow. I don't necessarily know if we'll see a live action, but I could see. I'm pretty sure that we're getting another video game, and I could potentially see a line of comics or books surrounding him.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I definitely see them bringing him in. It's hard to say because I don't know many video game characters, at least with Star Wars, that have been brought into the live action fruition. So it's honestly hard to say that we're gonna get him because we really don't know.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that's like very hard to predict. Like some people were trying to predict Kyle Katarn to come in. I think it was Kyle Katarn. Is that his name? Kyle Katarn from. I gotta look it up to make sure I'm not gonna sound like a baffling idiot.
Don't worry, you already do.
Yeah, I don't need more of that. Yeah, Kyle Katarn. The Jedi Knights video game series.
I don't know anything
people
about
were,
that. That seems
the
pretty low on the
first
radar.
appearance was a Star Wars Dark Forces game in 1995. That was an old game. I remember that game. I played the heck out of that back in the day. That was like my first computer game. But yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, some people were predicting Kyle Katarn to make an appearance because we don't know if he's alive or not.
I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to bring in like a crazy amount of characters. They already have.
No, not a crazy amount. I'm just trying to go through the ones that we haven't seen that we could.
Yeah.
You know. Do you think it's possible? Let's see here. How could he tie it in? Yeah, easy. Do you think we'll see a Han Solo in the Book of Boba Fett? Or Millennium Falcon reference, at the least.
Yeah.
No.
Seems pretty easy.
Yeah. And I guess a big one before I move on to my next question for Boba Fett. Mace Windu. Do you think Mace Windu is alive and coming back?
No.
You don't?
No.
Do you want it to be?
Yes, but I don't think it's happening.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot of, hinting at it, but I kind of, I'm typically optimistic, but I kind of feel like that's pretty far-fetched. It's not a crazy idea because we didn't see a body. He only lost his arm. Jedi can fall from high places. Blah blah blah. But
yeah,
I think I'm gonna go with the other way. I think we will see him. Maybe not in Boba Fett specifically, but I think we're gonna see a live action post original trilogy Mace Windu.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and predict it.
All right. I like that prediction.
Yeah. I don't know how. It's kind of hard to predict how. I think Boba Fett makes the most sense because they have their, connection from episode 2.
Yeah.
But I think we can see him.
All right. And we're back.
A little bit of technical difficulties there.
No big deal.
No big deal at all. We move on. We rise above. But anyways, so all in all, I think we kind of discussed very vaguely. We didn't go into too great a detail, I think. But I think we can at least say for certain that the future of Star Wars is looking bright with all of these shows. And on top of that, our predictions, they're probably going to be wrong. I think that's safe to say, especially when the more abstract, complicating ones, they're probably going to be way off. We like to swing in left field here.
If anybody that's viewing this has been lost with some of the stuff we have been talking about, please let us know, and we will explain things a little better. Me and Dylan are huge Star Wars fans, and we know a lot about this stuff, and we sometimes assume other people know just as much as we do. So if you guys are confused on stuff, please let us know, and we will work on that.
Also, as well as if you have your own predictions and you want to throw them at us, go ahead and throw them down in the comments, and we'll try and maybe even have an episode where we can just show on screen everybody's comments that they gave, and we can talk about everybody else's comments.
That'd be really cool, yeah.
Maybe do a rankings of likeliness of
theories.
everybody's. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why we couldn't do that. We're gonna have fun with it. Also, in the hopefully near future, but at least in the future, we want to bring more people on, or just bring people on in general. We haven't brought anybody on yet, and just go over all this nerd crap that we absolutely love and are obsessed over. But I mean, we have the likes of WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Bad Batch, Hawkeye, Loki. So much coming out over the next 6 months, really.
Yeah.
And so
we got a good amount coming out, so we'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
And nerd out about.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys want us to talk about something nerdy that you have, you're obsessed with, and maybe we
are too,
can go and watch it and get obsessed with it with you.
Yeah.
But either way, subscribe, give us some comments and feedback. How you think we could do better? What do you not like? What do you like? Just let us know.
Oh yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. See ya.